This episode of the Pain Education Corner is sponsored by the Camella Foundation. The Camella Foundation is committed to relieving pain naturally using osteopathic healing principles. Here at the Camella Foundation, we envision a world where people achieve their maximum potential by being empowered with knowledge and skills to heal themselves and others. This information is to be used for educational purposes only and not to be construed as medical advice. If you have any questions or concerns, please consult a licensed healthcare professional. Hello, it's Bill, the Knee Pain Guru, and welcome to the Pain Education Podcast brought to you by the Camella Foundation. Today we have Jan Tucker, who's going to share with us what she knows about Qigong and how it can help with physical pain. So Jan, I'd like to welcome you to the podcast and share a little bit with us about your background, how you came to Qigong and your expertise.
Thank you very much, Bill. I'm really happy to be here this morning. And I guess my story is a kind of a long and winding road. You know, I didn't come straight to Qigong. I didn't come straight to healing. I went to corporate America first. And I ended up getting an MBA degree. And that was a huge detour in my life. And I never felt fulfilled because I never felt like I was doing something to really help people, which is what I wanted to do. And I guess my thing was I had a lot of health problems along the way, but bronchitis was one of the main ones. I would get it all the time. And for my whole life, I was trying to find some kind of a way to get it under control because it was getting worse and worse. And I would end up in bed for a month sometimes with it. And I wouldn't be able to wake up in the middle of the night. So I found Chinese medicine. And when I found that, that's when I realized, okay, this is helping. This is going to help. I went to an acupuncturist. She was able to knock bronchitis out of me. If I went in there, with symptoms early on, she could make it so I didn't even get the bronchitis. And she is the one that got me into Qigong. She kept telling me, you have to do Qigong. And finally, I listened to her. And in the first class, I realized this is where I belong, because I learned that I could stop my own bronchitis from coming on. I also had issues with pain. I had knee pain from the time I was in my 20s to the time I was in my 50s. And when I found Chinese medicine, that alleviated the pain as well. And I want people to know that Qigong works on the same principles as acupuncture. Same exact principles. We both work with the meridian system. Don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but if you've ever been to an acupuncturist, they work with the meridian system and they remove blockages. And that's what Qigong does too. And
if I could just, so I'm clear as well, because Qigong I've had a lot of years of martial arts. I have not done Qigong. So the meridian system in the body is the lines of energy that move.
Yeah, the meridian.
I'm asking to understand because I want you to describe it best.
Sure. Yeah, and this is something that medical science is not familiar with. You can't measure it, you can't see it, so they're not really aware that it's there. But the body has 12, in Qigong we call them energy channels. In acupuncture, they call them meridians. You have 12 major energy channels that energy flows through. So that's how energy gets to your cells of the body. And I like to sort of compare it. It's like we have two parallel systems that nourish all the cells of the body. The one is when we eat food, and the circulatory system takes, we take the nutrients, we break them down, and the circulatory system delivers those food nutrients to every cell of the body wherever it's needed. Well, the energy channels deliver energy to every cell where it's needed. And we get our energy from food, and we get our energy when we breathe. So those are the two main ways we get energy. But the cells need energy as much as they need nutrients from food. And when they're not getting the energy that they need, they're not operating fully like they could. The cells need energy.
Okay, I'm going to be slightly contrary here.
Okay.
I want to understand this for someone who has either not heard of Qigong or is coming from a medical perspective that would have that question. Well, if the Western medical model can't measure it or see it, how do we know it's there?
Well, we know it's there from 5,000 years of Qigong practice.
Other than that, anything other than that?
You know, when you, it's almost like sometimes you have to have experience with something to really get it. So, you know, when you go to an acupuncturist and they open up energy channels by putting needles in at the different energy points, they might be putting a needle somewhere in your sinuses in your face to take care of a stomach issue. And it just seems so contrary. Like, why would that work? But it works time after time after time again. It's been proven that it works. And when you realize, if you go to a Qigong person and they tell you, okay, you've got this knee pain, so I want you to feel this point that's just below your patella on the outside of your shin. I want you to massage that point. And they do that. They have knee pain. They massage that point. That point is sore. Whenever you have a problem with pain or any other type of illness, if you massage the body part that corresponds with that energy channel, it's going to be sore. So that's just another indication. If that soreness is there in the point where they're telling you, okay, this should be sore, and it is, then that to me is an indication it's that energy channel is there.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I've worked on clients where I've worked on their left wrist and their right hip let go. Their right hip felt better. It's like, well, why does that work? I understand the body is all interconnected. You know, the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone and the thigh bone's connected to the knee bone. Like that whole concept. And I believe when we start to look at the body as this integrated, connected, all these systems working together. And if we're having a problem in one area of the body, sometimes just looking at that area of the body isn't going to get us where we want to go.
Correct.
So I agree with you. I asked that question purely for those skeptics that would be like, okay, well, we can't see it on an X-ray, a CT scan, or MRI, or prove it to me. And I really like how you said it. You have to feel it. You have to experience it for yourself for it to be real.
Well, another way to look at it is you can't see radio waves, right?
This is
true. But when you turn on a radio, the sound is there.
Right.
You know, we don't have to be able to see energy in order for it to really be there.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of things, the band of radio waves and all the different Wi-Fi. We're speaking on Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
You know, over the internet. You're in California. Is that correct? You're in California. I'm on the East Coast, North Carolina, and we're speaking. I can't see you other than the image that is coming over my computer screen. So absolutely.
Yeah, and if you told somebody in 1900 that we were going to be able to do this, they'd think you were crazy. Right. But, you know, it's there. It works. It really does.
Sure. Well, cool. Let's move on to Qigong. I understand, like, rudimentary. It's movement. It's movement that opens up channels in the body that helps energy flow. There's breathing involved into it. And my level of understanding of Qigong has stopped. So I need you to fill in all the gaps.
Okay. Well, another really interesting thing to know is that it also has to do with thought and focus. So our minds are so much more powerful than we have any idea. And when you start doing Qigong, you learn that, how powerful your mind can be. we can direct energy with our mind.
Mm.
Um, Basically, where your mind goes, the energy flows, is the saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to the movements that you're doing, you're using your mind to think. Um, for example, you might be doing a breathing exercise. So, one of my favorite ones is breathing of the universe, where you breathe energy in from the universe through every cell of your body. You just breathe it in like your whole body is a lung, like
Mm-hmm.
you're one big lung, breathing in through every cell, and then you collect it at an energy point that's behind your navel. It's called
Mm-hmm.
the lower dantian. And then when you breathe out, you breathe out through every cell also, and you send pain, or you send whatever issue that you don't want to be dealing with anymore that's in your body, you send it out. So thought and focus is a real important part of qigong as well, and that's something a lot of people don't know.
Sure. Well, if we focus on negative things, well, that we end up looking for all of those negative things. And if we focus on positive things, I'm a firm believer in that. And as we look around the people that we surround ourselves with, that what did it, I've heard it in a number of different trainings that if you take your 5 closest friends and average them out, that's like who you are. You're an average
Yes.
of your 5 closest friends. So if your friends are uh, filling you or speaking to you with positive thoughts, well, then it's real easy to be supported by that. And the same thing as far as negative thoughts. So I totally agree.
Yeah, and in fact, emotions are actually, we have such a mind-body connection
Mm-hmm.
that, again, in Western medicine, we really don't. We know it's there. We
Mm-hmm.
definitely know it's there, but we don't know what to do with it. Um, Emotions are one of the major cause of illness. They cause more illness than any of the other reasons combined.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to have, you know, it, it might sound trite, but it's so important to have that positive attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do qigong healings, I'm also using my own thought and emotion uh, to to along with the healing that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the motions with my hands to remove blockages, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying the pain is gone. No more pain, completely healed.
Mm-hmm.
All these little positive messages I send in, and because those thought is also a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Energy is vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So thought is also vibration, and that's why we say thoughts are things. They have power.
Mm-hmm.
That vibration from your thought goes into your body and into the organs. Um, if you have a problem with anger, that anger is stored in the liver,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a vibration that damages the liver. And the opposite emotion is happiness. So when we're doing the movement that we do for the liver, we think about how happy we are,
Mm-hmm.
and we think about how happy each organ is, because it's being nourished by all this energy that we're
Mm-hmm.
putting in.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Education Corner. If you have a special talent or skill to relieve pain and you'd like to become a guest on our show, visit us at thecamellafoundation.org/interview. Help us spread the word on eliminating pain and suffering in the world. That's thecamellafoundation.org/interview.
It's a thought.
So let's go back to your introduction to Qigong, and you had the bronchitis situation. And what was your evolution from there into beginning to training, making it a practice? Describe that process for us.
Well, when I learned that acupuncture and qigong could both take care of bronchitis, that was a lifesaver for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went to the class, my first qigong class with Master Chunyi Lin. He's the one that I learned from, and I've since been certified as a healer and a trainer through his program. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Spring Forest Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did it because I wanted to overcome this bronchitis issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I took all 5 levels of Master Lin's course and, became certified, as I said. And then I didn't need to use Qigong for bronchitis for 10 months after I took the first class.
Whoa.
And when when you're just hoping that it works, I mean, you don't know, you're just hoping that it's really going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself in Buffalo, New York in the middle of the winter in 20-degree weather. And here I'm from California. I'm used to like 60 and 70 degrees at least that time
Right.
of year.
In the
So
winter.
yes, absolutely. I had to go back for a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was there. Otherwise, it would have been summer for me to go back there. But so I started to get the symptoms of bronchitis while I was there.
Mm.
And I'm sitting in my sister-in-law's bedroom, the guest bedroom, and I'm thinking, oh man, this has to work. This Qigong, it just has to work. And I sat there and I gave myself a Qigong healing. And sure enough, it worked. I did not get the bronchitis.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to try it. You just, like I said, you have to experience it to really see that it works.
Sure. And when you talk about a Qigong healing, is that movement? Is it like a meditation? What does a Qigong healing look like? And I think we're gonna be able to get a bonus thing for the listeners or watchers down below this, that they would be able to go see a demonstration of this.
They can actually practice with me.
Oh,
So
cool. Excellent.
You'll actually get to experience it. So that's great.
Okay. Awesome.
Qigong has several different aspects. You can do Qigong healings, you can do Qigong movements,
Mm-hmm.
you can do Qigong meditations,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do Qigong techniques that are similar to acupressure.
Mm-hmm.
The healings, just like you'd go to somebody like for a massage or for an acupuncture treatment or chiropractic, you'd come to a Qigong healer for a healing. And what I'm doing is using my hands to just, certain movements that I do break up energy blockages in your channels, in your energy channels. Anytime in Chinese medicine, they discovered that anytime you have any type of illness or pain, it can always be traced back to a blockage in one or more of the energy channels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole key of energy healing, is that you've got blockages in your channels. So it's important to remove those blockages. So in the healing, I break up the blockages, and then with my hand, I basically just pull the energy, the bad energy out.
Mm-hmm.
I remove the blockage.
Okay.
And I can also do this. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. I can do this remotely too.
Okay. So just making sure we're covering all bases. This is something that a person can experience remotely.
Yes.
It is something a person can do for themselves.
Yes.
Something that they can get support from someone else.
Yes. You can go to a healer.
Okay.
Or you can develop your own movement practice.
Got it.
So, and the movements, they look a little bit like Tai Chi,
Mm-hmm.
but Tai Chi is more more flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Qigong was developed specifically for healing. Tai Chi wasn't. Tai Chi came from Qigong,
Mm-hmm.
and it came 1,500 years ago. Qigong was 5,000 years old. So Qigong's specific to healing, and the movements, because of that, they're repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to remove these blockages from the energy channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to keep doing the same movement. It's kind of like a plunger technique.
Okay.
You're sending energy through the channels to break the blockages. So you want to be more repetitive in your movements.
And when we have these blockages, and you had mentioned a little bit ago about the emotional component that is connected with the physical blockage, or blockage of an energy center, or the flow of an energy
The
Help me.
channel.
The
It's a
channel.
block.
Okay.
Yep. If you could picture it like a river.
Okay.
Like energy should flow through the body like water flows through a river,
Right.
through these channels. When
Mm-hmm.
you have a blockage in a river, the water doesn't get beyond the blockage.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with the energy. When you have a blockage in the energy channel, the energy channel beyond the blockage is pretty much dry. There's no energy going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then the part of the channel before the blockage can actually back up and have too much energy, like a
Mm-hmm.
flood in a river.
Got it.
So it's more like that. You want the energy to continue to flow smoothly through the body, through all 12 major channels.
And I get the visual piece. Could you connect the dots for us regarding the emotional component with the physical aspect of how the blockage takes place?
Yeah, again, thoughts are things. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're sending negative thoughts into the body, you're sending vibrations that can get lodged. It's all about vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and negative thoughts stop that vibration. And you're getting too much. It's like when you have a blockage in the energy channel, it's because there's an excess of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Too much thought, too much emotion,
Mm-hmm.
too much physical problem.
Was it Tesla that said, if you want to learn the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency and vibration?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's
It's
cool.
all about that.
Yeah. And I think of from an emotional component, if I'm kind of down in the dumps, my shoulders slump forward, I lean forward in my chair, I'm not like so happy, I'm going to hold tension in my body differently than if I'm feeling really good and I'm sitting up straight and I'm, really wrapped at a tension. The tension of my body is going to change based on that emotional component that's going on in my physical body.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've all experienced that. We have stress is an epidemic, and we tense our necks, we tense our shoulder, we get these headaches. When we worry, we tense our stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Worry and anxiety. I'm working on the stomach channel when
Mm-hmm.
I do a healing
Mm-hmm.
for that.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Okay, I'm looking at the notes that we put together for the call today. So the body can heal physical pain with Qigong. Let me see. I'm trying to think of the question that I would like to. So how would a person know if, based on what you said, the part of the body that they're experiencing the pain in may not be the area where it's backed up, it might be backed up upstream. If they were trying to figure out what they can do to relieve pain in a certain part of their body, but it really wasn't that part of their body, how would they know?
They probably wouldn't.
Okay.
They'd have to come to somebody like me to really understand. Part of the thing that we do is we detect where the blockages are.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is a warning sign.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I don't think people think about it that way, but it's a warning sign that something else is wrong.
Mm.
So if you think of it in that way, then you just realize, it might not be the pain, it might be just indicating something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be one pain in one person in one place can have different causes,
Mm-hmm.
from one person to another.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complex thing.
When you work with a client, when you're working with someone, whether in person or remotely, how would that look? How are you asking them lots of questions? Are you writing Are you writing down notes? Tell me what that experience would look like for someone that would be looking for support from a Qigong practitioner or a Qigong healer.
What I'm doing is I'm getting them into a meditative state for the healing. I'm getting them completely relaxed. So what I do is I talk them down. You know, I tell them to visualize the sun above their head, because when you're working with energy, you know, the sun is energy. And when you're working with Qigong, you're getting this, it's like we have this amazing connection with the universe, with nature. You can think of it as nature, that we're totally disconnected from nature in our training. You know, in our medicine, you know, we don't think about our connection with nature, but it's this connection with nature that heals us. Mother Nature has so many ways to heal us with energy. So I get them to think of the sun coming in through the top of their head and going down slowly, ever so slowly, to the bottom of their feet. And I get them to think of that sun as healing, warm, healing energy. So while I'm doing the healing, that's what they're thinking about, is this connection with nature, this connection with the sun and the warmth of the sun. And then I detect, you know, I do a little detection with my hand. I go over like that. Or if I'm on the phone with somebody doing a remote healing, I basically think of them as being right in front of me, and I do the same thing. And then I use a technique called sword fingers, which it looks like this. And that's how I point my finger at the pain areas, and at the channels where the problem is, whether you know, maybe it's in a different area of the body that I'm working on than the actual pain. I point the fingers there to break up the blockage and then remove the excess energy from the body. I know it sounds crazy, you know, but it does work.
Okay, Jan, and I'm gonna make the connection for those medical professionals, Western medical professionals, and the skeptics out there. What you're doing is you're shifting the neurology of the body from a sympathetic fight or flight state to a parasympathetic state, which is a rest and relax state, which is where the body heals.
Yes.
Now you have different terminology, you have a different way of describing it, that essentially where the body recovers. When we sleep, we're in more of a parasympathetic state, which is where the body is supposed to recover. And when we're running away from danger, we're in a sympathetic state, fight or flight state. So the body is in a preserved state. And everything you're doing with your fingers and your intention is connecting with the frequency and vibration that Tesla talked about. You're becoming aware with your mind. You're directing that focus of what you're visualizing of the frequency and vibration of the person you're working with, and you're moving that energy in a way to free up the blockage.
Yes.
How does that sound? That's a little bit more solid, that somebody who might get a little bit like, well, that's too far out there. Well, it's not really, because it's a spectrum, like we were talking about. There's things we can see and touch and feel, and then we have stuff that can kill us, like electricity, that we can't.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Thank you.
And different people resonate with different healers, different therapists, different types of work. And for someone that would go to a deep tissue massage therapist that puts them in pain, that works for some, not for everybody. They need sword fingers, and it's okay. Yeah. I've had lots of different types of energy work in my life, and it's very powerful. There's things that shift that I would have difficulty explaining, and yet it's made profound effects. in my physical body and my outlook on life and all sorts of things. So I get it.
Good. And, just an example, I worked with a teenager named Eric. He's a high school, and he had this terrible knee pain, and he was on the track team. And he was going to have to stop because his knee pain wouldn't stop. He was wearing knee braces and, doing everything he could to keep on going, but he just couldn't do it. So he came to me, and I did one of those crazy healings with sword fingers.
Okay.
His eyes were closed while I was doing it, and he just, after I said, "How do you feel afterwards?" And he looked at me and he said, "I just felt this warm feeling in my knees. It's, I can't figure it out. Like, how did that happen?" He thought it was crazy because I didn't touch him. He didn't feel it. He didn't any hands or anything, but he felt that warmth. And sure enough, his knee pain was gone after one healing.
Nice.
He was able to go back to track. He almost made state to go with his team to state. And 8 months after that, he was training for a half marathon.
Wow.
No more knee brace anymore. And he was fine. The pain never came back. I don't know where the pain came from, but the Qigong healing made it go away. And it doesn't always happen immediately like that. But in a lot of cases it will. So it's almost like magic sometimes.
I was just thinking of another analogy. Our ability to hear is only on a certain spectrum. Dogs can hear whistles that we can't. Both above and below our ability to hear sound and frequency. And those on either side of that spectrum, what am I trying to say? That there are things that our limited perception to pick up on. Our perception is limited. And there are perceptions that people can hear or other animals can hear on other sides of our perception, as well as visually. There's things that can be seen, infrared and ultraviolet spectrums of light that we can't see. So I think when we start expanding allowing ourselves to be open to different experiences, it opens up the possibilities of things that on some level we know to be true, yet there's a skeptical part of us that would go, that couldn't have happened. Must have been something else.
Yes. And I think that frequency spectrum goes all the way from radio waves on one side into colors that we can see, and then over to X-rays and gamma rays on the other side. And you're right, we can only see a very small portion of that and experience it. But we don't know how the birth process works completely. We don't know how our digestive system works completely, but it works. Sure. I mean, do we have to know all that? All the chemicals and the hormones and everything involved in all those things. We have to know those in order for them to work? No, they just do. And it's the same thing with Qigong and energy healing. You don't have to know how it works in order to experience that it does work, even in order to practice it. Like I do. I don't have to know how it works. I just have to know that it does.
Right. Okay, so I have some questions for you regarding pitfalls working with clients, challenges and pitfalls that you see clients getting in their own way from the process of allowing their body to let go of pain or for healing to take place.
Letting go is the key word, I think. And it has to do with emotions. That's the problem I have. People sometimes they want to hang on to the problem, or they just don't have a belief that it can go.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say over and over again, oh, well, this low pressure system's coming in and I'm going to feel pain.
Mm.
you know there's a radio station in Iowa that even calls the low pressure indicator, they call it the pain indicator.
Mm.
So they sort of set people up to think of it as pain.
Mm-hmm.
um, that emotional aspect. Emotions cause more problems in the body, more health problems than any other thing that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And people can't get beyond those emotions.
Mm.
So letting go is really important. And I try to counsel people on doing that, but that's where they have the problem, because they don't even see that they're hanging on.
Yeah. I'd even like to reframe it for the context of this podcast. People can let go of those patterns if shown the way how.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that opens up the opportunity, or at least a possibility, that it could happen. Because I've run into the very same way. And they're stuck some way, somehow. This is how their life has always been, how their body's always felt, how their knee always feels. And it's always going to be that way. And if we can begin to give them the experience of something different,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not always like that.
Well, even if you start your own movement practice and you start to see results, you start to feel better, and you start to, maybe your pain goes away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's just all you need. Sometimes is just a little indication that it's working.
Mm-hmm.
And that can turn everything around. Then you want to do it more. And the more you do it, the more it helps. And you start to spiral up instead of spiraling down.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. And so what would you believe is the biggest difference a person can make? They're suffering in pain. It's like, no, I'm not going to have, there isn't any possible way I could ever get out of this. What is the one thing that you see would be the biggest leverage point for them to get out of that place?
From a Qigong perspective, it would be to start the movement practice.
Mm.
And the one that I do every Wednesday night online
Mm-hmm.
it's called the 5 elements
Mm-hmm.
practice. So it deals with the 5 elements of Chinese theory, and it works with 5 major organs and organ systems in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it works with 5 different emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, no matter what your problem is, if you work with those 5 systems, you're going to be able to pinpoint. You're going to be working on the area that's bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
So this 5 elements movement is just, it's the best overall thing to work with any issue in the body and in the mind. So I would recommend trying that practice.
Trying that, and that's what we're gonna, wink, wink, nudge, 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 nudge. We'll get one of those that we could put in the bonus section.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. The first class, it's a 60-minute class. About 40 minutes, give or take, is movement. Okay. And then the last 20 minutes would be a Qigong meditation where you work with the mind.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Now, I have some notes here. You have a group starting here in a little bit for recurring health challenges or chronic illness, whether that's diagnosed or not. You're calling it a clear path to healing. Would you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Qigong is actually it's more of a lifestyle. It's not just a practice, but it's also a lifestyle. And in Chinese medicine, movement is important, nutrition, de-stressing, sleep, everything that you can do for the body is you're preparing the body for the ability to heal. When you give the body everything it needs, it's a miraculous healer. And that's the other aspect of energy healing in Qigong, is that you just need it. It's like when you have a plant, you need to prepare the soil for the plant to thrive. You feed the soil and the plant thrives. So you feed the body and the body heals itself. So this program that I've developed is going to help you up level every aspect of your life that
Mm-hmm.
contributes to your health. So we're going to learn Qigong. We're going to get Qigong healings. We're going to learn about nutrition from a Chinese aspect. We're going to learn about sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and the problems with sleep, how to sleep better. So it's preparing the soil of the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving the body everything it needs so that it can heal itself.
Mm.
And
And do you have a launch date on that?
I don't have a launch date yet, but I can accept people that want to experiment with it at any point, and we can start.
Got it. So just to give everybody a time frame, we're at the end of March right now that we're recording this. We'll have the clearpathtohealing.com. We'll include the link there. If you click on it and it works, she's launched it. So,
and if it doesn't, it'll send you over to my other website, which is Healing with Qigong.
got it.
So there'll be a link to there. You won't get lost.
Got it. We'll include all of that, all of these ways, your websites, as well as your contact information in the show notes for anyone who would like to get in contact with you, as well as a link to the bonus, that 1 hour
Qigong practice.
Qigong practice. Thank you so much. Cool. And Jan, is there anything else you would like to touch on about pain, or anything that I may have forgot to ask you that is kind of sticking in your mind a little bit?
In the beginning, when you asked that question, my big thing was to talk about the emotions, how important those are, and we did touch on that. But it's really important to try to let go of the feeling that the pain is not going to go away, because it absolutely can go away, with energy healing. Pain can be hard because it can take over your life sometimes, but there's hope. There's hope with energy healing, that you can eliminate the pain. It's been done over and over again in many cases.
And what I'd like to iterate, what Jan is saying, is that there's always a path. If there's a way for the body to get into pain, there's a way for it to get out of pain. And it's up to for you listening to this, whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening to it on iTunes, that there is a path out of pain that you have to test, and you have to find out what that is for you, and kind of tap into what, if you hear what Jan says that resonates with you, or some of our other guests that we've interviewed that resonate with you, then absolutely reach out to them. See what they can give you as far as insight. And it may only be one word that Jan says when you speak to her that will trigger something inside of you or in your brain, that it's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So,
and whatever you do, don't just try to mask it. Pain is it's an indication that there's something wrong, and you need to pay attention.
Absolutely. It's like the check engine light.
Yeah,
your car.
Exactly.
If you don't deal with it, it's going to get worse, no matter what. So, well, Jan, it was an absolute pleasure to chat with you. This was fun. I love learning about Qigong and what you had to share in terms of the meridians and energy centers in the body. And definitely keep us posted as to how that program, that Clear Path to Healing, how that develops.
Yeah, and you should come try it out too, since you're curious about it, just to see what it's like.
Absolutely.
You're welcome to come too. And I really enjoyed this hour as well.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Well, great. Okay, Jan, we're going to wrap it up. This is Bill Paravano, the knee pain guru, on behalf of the Camella Foundation, bringing you the Pain Education Podcast. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you on next week's podcast. To learn more about the work we do at the Camella Foundation, please visit our website at the Camella, COMELLA, foundation.org. Join us next week for another conversation on natural healing methods to eliminate pain.